Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in for this very special information session for parents of children between the age of 9 and 16, all about a very authentic and unique experience, getting a taste of French life with our next French summer program happening in July 2025. My name is Natalie Daniel, and I am the director of the Vici Language Academy. And here to present this info session with me today is Laura, our director of studies. Now, this summer program is a very proud project of ours because we've been working on it for quite a while. We've been teaching French to children and teenagers now for 22 years. We'll tell you all about that later, but it's been quite an adventure for us to prepare this program. So we're very, very happy to be here today to talk about it. Now, this presentation is meant to be fairly brief yet comprehensive. If you want to find out more, we have a lot of information online, which we will add to this video, but you're also very welcome to book a call with me to discuss your children's need and find out this is the right type of immersion and educational program for your child. Now, before we go a little bit further, I was just saying that Laura and I were very excited to prepare and organize and structure this program because Vici has now been running for the best part of 22 years. It all started with me all these years ago in 2002 when I really felt into language education by accident, a very happy accident. And I became very passionate about bilingualism for children. I ended up, I started in 2002. By 2008, I was teaching over 650 children a week in nursery schools, in primary schools. I was organizing French clubs. I was tutoring GCSE students. And I even wrote bilingual books for young children. And I always felt that there was something missing a little bit. And that missing piece was being able to offer the students an immersion program to really work together with the language tuition that they were having throughout the year. So Vici has been evolving in the language industry for 22 years. We now have several schools. We are a team of 35. We teach 11 different foreign languages to young children, teenagers, adults. We do corporate training. And in terms of the language experiences, we've started 8 years ago, and we've been, refining and multiplying the options for all our learners. I was in Valencia in Spain 2 weeks ago, organizing a language experience there for our adult learners. We're getting ready for Florence in March. We have a ladies' retreat in France in March as well. And of course, we organize quite a lot of residential programs for teenagers and young adults who want to improve their English language skills. So they come to both our language centers in the UK, one in Newbury, one in Windsor, but also to our office in Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So plenty of options for our learners. But again, if French and therefore this summer programs is something that is very close to my heart, is because while I'm a French native, I'm sure you will have guessed that, but this is how I started my own journey in the language education, and teaching French to young children is the reason why I became very, very passionate about this industry. So I do a lot of presentation talking about our language experiences, but this one is in particular is one that I'm extremely excited about. So I'm going to ask my colleague Laura to share a slide for us today so we can take you through the various elements of this language experience for children. Thank you, Laura. So this summer camp is very much an authentic immersion into French life. It's a real blend of learning between the idea of having fun. It is the summer holiday after all, bring in education elements because we want the children to be there and really learn linguistically, but culturally as well. And we want them to be really immersed into the French lifestyle. And that's very much how we've built this program, which will be happening again next July. Now, before I tell you about this experience in details, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Laura and myself. So, becoming bilingual really wasn't on the cards for me. I come from Jura, a very rural part of France, which is where I am at the moment. I'm currently sat in our French office. And, whilst it's very beautiful and peaceful, it's not exactly a cosmopolitan place where you have opportunities to meet a lot of people who speak different languages. And yet, I became bilingual. Becoming bilingual in English has opened many doors for me, personally and professionally. And so this is something that, again, I became very, very passionate about, giving children, the wonderful asset of having a second language. I moved to the US to be an au pair after graduating from high school in France. I then did, international trade training. I worked in hotels. So I had this experience of learning in a classroom, learning in the country, being immersed in the country. And then I started to teach children, which is what I've discovered. So all of that has given me an extremely comprehensive idea of how children can really master a foreign language, even when they were not born in a bilingual family. And this has fueled all of this, all this experience and, gained and learned expertise has really fueled my passion for the language industry, and particularly and more to organize very bespoke language experiences for young children. And I would love for my colleague Laura to spend a little bit of time herself to talk about herself and her own language experience, because you will see that it is vastly different to mine, actually the complete opposite. But we both agree and talk about it often in the office. That's most probably the reason why we get on well and we create wonderful and unique language programs and experiences for children. That's because we come from a very different place when it comes to acquiring bilingualism. So Laura, would you like to tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely. So, hi everyone, I'm Laura. As Natalie said, I'm the Director of Studies for the Vici Language Academy. And as Natalie also said, my story is very different from Natalie's and actually pretty much the complete opposite. So, I grew up in England. I currently live in France. I grew up in a bilingual household. So, my mother is English and my father is Belgian. So, we grew up speaking both languages at home. And I was always really interested in the academic side of languages and linguistics, how we learn languages. And so I studied languages and linguistics up to master's level at university, and then spent several years working and studying across Europe before settling back down in France and joining the language academy, the Vici Language Academy, 4 years ago now. So as Natalie said, everything that I've done is actually kind of the opposite of her. And I think that's why we work very well together and we have two very unique but very complementary perspectives on children's bilingual education. And that's why we love to work together to create these kind of programs for you.
Thank you, Laura. So now that you know a little bit about Vici and about who we are, let's start to dig into what this French summer camp is all about. So first of all, where will we be going? I've mentioned it briefly, when I introduce myself, we will be going to Jura, which is my home. It's a beautiful and peaceful part of France on the east side of France, very, very close to the Swiss border. Now, why choose this part of France? Well, I'm very biased and I'm very happy to admit that I feel very proud to be bringing students to my home. I have a great network here, and that's the reason why some of the activities or the people that the children will meet, this is completely enabled by the fact that, well, I know a lot of people here, and I spent part of the year in our French office, so this is where I am at the moment. But it simply is one of the best regions of France to organize something like that. Why? Because it is very authentic. It is not somewhere where the children are going to meet loads of people who can speak English. And we really want them to, be immersed in the language and the culture all the time. It's also a very safe place. Now, if you've already looked at the brochure of this summer camp, or if you've checked information on our website, we talk a lot about having an adventure. We wanted the children to get outdoor. We wanted to do a French class in the forest if we wanted to. We wanted to go by the lakes. And all of that, Jura offers. So really, for us, for all the reasons that I've mentioned, it clearly is the best place to be for such an adventure for the children. So that's why Jura was chosen to run our summer camp. So let's have a look now as to the accommodation. So I've put a few photos there and I'll explain why. We have been looking at accommodation that means that, the children can be very comfortable, again, a very safe environment, but also somewhere where we can have separate classrooms because we take our daily French lessons very seriously, and somewhere that would be fairly remote. We don't want to be in the middle of a city center, but not too remote either. Hence the reason why you've got a photo of a boulangerie there, because if you're going to get a taste of authentic France, then clearly you need to go to the boulangerie in the morning. So we've kind of looked at all of this. We didn't want to be too far from the lakes and the forest that I've just mentioned, because they will offer us such an, amazing environment to enjoy this experience. And so it was all about looking for somewhere that geographically made sense, and also somewhere that would be comfortable, where we would have not very, very large dormitories for the children, so they can be fairly independent, but also somewhere where we could have separate classrooms. So we can, when the French classes are not taking place in the forest, then we need something a little bit more structured. So at the moment, we have options on 4 different places, and we will be making a choice once all the enrollments have been made. So we can see, based on the age of the children and how many children come along, which is the best place where to go. But I just wanted to list all the details that we've gone through in order to decide and put options on 4 different places. So now, who is this French summer camp for? Well, when we built the program around that, Laura and I thought about 3 different types of children, students, teenagers. Not all of them are students. Some children may not have learned French before. They may want to try this out because they may feel that, this is something they'd like to do, perhaps as a hobby, or to include that in their education, and they want a taste of it to see what it's like, of course. However, we anticipate that most of the children who will enroll in this program and those who have already have all experienced the French language in one way or another. So, for example, some students attend French clubs. They go to a breakfast club, a lunchtime club, an after school club at their local school. They have a tutor coming to their home. They attend an academy like ours in Newbury. They have online classes. So learning French for them, it's not something that's obligatory. It is a hobby, but a serious hobby. And it's something that they enjoy, and it's something that's become part of their lifestyle and therefore their education. I think that it would be quite phenomenal for these children to actually take what they're learning and experience it in a real life setup. I think that most of them would gain great confidence with their language skills, would understand what it's like actually to practice all of this in real life France. And of course, I think that not only would give a boost in their confidence, I think it would consolidate what they are learning every week at home or in their club or in their French academies. And it would really develop their vocabulary quite a lot. So I think that for these children, it's an amazing opportunity to see what it's like to put into practice what they actually learn as a serious hobby every week at home or at school. And then, of course, it can also be for children in secondary school who are learning French in a bit more of a serious setup. It's now part of the curriculum. It's now become obligatory, and GCSE exams are looming. We know, because we work with a lot of children who learn French in secondary school for a little bit of support. We know that they hear about French GCSE quite early on when they arrive in year 7 in the UK. So an experience like this one could do two things. Number one, it could again consolidate their learning, really help them to, grasp aspect of grammar that they may not have completely understood at school. It will clearly help them to develop their vocabulary. But I think what is really important for these children is to actually practice the French that is being required for them in school. When we give extra lessons to children learning French at secondary school, a lot of them sometimes can't quite connect the dots between what they're learning on paper and actually speaking the language. When they experience real French in real France, then things just change. Children start to understand that you cannot master a foreign language and be at ease with a foreign language unless you make mistakes. We want them to make mistakes. We will be encouraging them during this French summer camp to make mistakes. That is the only way to learn and improve your language skills. And so when the children are at ease by hearing the French language all the time, and also in something I should have mentioned, which is true for all of them, i.e. being at ease in an environment where you don't always understand the language, but that's okay. Once they've had that, and once they've been encouraged to make mistakes, they will their progression will be exponential. I can guarantee that to every parent. I've seen it. As I said, we've organized French summer camp before. This one is just bigger and better. And we've seen it. We see it with the French teenagers who go to our centers in the UK, in England. Once they are immersed in the language through a structured program like this one, encouraged to make mistakes, taught tools that will help them be at ease in an environment where, the language is vastly unknown, their progression is quite incredible. And we see it a lot with teenagers who sometimes have inhibition at secondary school learning a foreign language that they have never learned it before. And suddenly they become teenagers and already they have a fair amount of inhibition, but they are asked to speak in a foreign language. We see it with children who went to little French clubs in their primary school, perhaps, where it was all fun and it was all about, singing and dancing and using puppets and playing games. And suddenly they arrive in secondary school and it's very structured. And a lot of these children lose their confidence through that. Well, I can assure you that a French program like this one in France will give them a huge amount of confidence. So just a quick recap into, students who may be learning in primary schools, or even students who may be learning in secondary school. They come with different profiles, which my colleague Laura will tell you about in a minute. But for us, it's very much about complementing all that they've already learned, consolidate it, develop it, and then it's about getting them to be confident in an environment where you don't really understand the language, and then be super confident with opening their mouth, trying and making mistakes. Also, the third type of child or teenager for whom I believe this would be a great program are actually children from French families, so French children. Children who may be growing up in the UK or the US, because I do know that we have people from the United States watching, and who are perhaps both the parents are French, perhaps they are born in bilingual and bicultural families. And these children haven't reached their bilingual potential yet. I am a mom of two boys, grown up now, but two boys who have grown up in a bilingual family with a French mom and an English dad. And it is a challenge when you are the minority language. My children grew up in the UK. It is a challenge to pass on the language to your children. That's the best way I can think of saying it, because unless you want to do school for your children every day, they are immersed, for me was the case, in the English language all the time. You therefore become the minority language. Some children become what we call passive, bilingual passive. They're happy to listen to you, they'll understand you, they refuse to talk. Some parents will come to the academy and say, we need your help because we gave up, it's too hard, but they don't speak French. And I'm very worried that they're not going to grow up with the French language. This is part of their history. So for a lot of bilingual families, a program like this one in France could really be the start of something new for the children. It could be, and we've seen it happen before, they come to a French summer camp where they're way more confident than other children because they already understand the French language very well. That gives them wings. Suddenly they are in an environment with other children who all love French, who all aspire to learn French and speak it very well. But these other children may not have had the opportunity that they are currently having to live with a French mom, a French dad, sometimes both. That gives them a huge amount of confidence. They realize that other children want something that they kind of already have, and they're halfway through it. Most of the bilingual children came to our summer camps in the past left feeling so proud and so determined to be fully bilingual that it was really quite wonderful for us to watch. So I would invite that French families who may not have the opportunity to send their children to their own family and to France in the summer to consider a program like this one, because I think that it would really, really boost their children's confidence and it would open their children's eyes to what a wonderful asset being bilingual is. Now, I'd like to pause for a moment, and on that note, and looking at the type of students that we had in mind, Laura and I, when we built this program, I'd just like Laura to tell you a little bit about this and the program itself based on the student's profile.
Absolutely. So for us, it's really important to understand the profiles of the students that we have and to know in particular the sort of the distribution of each type of profile that we might have, to know what kind of profiles we might have in each age group as well. So for us, once you enroll your child in the program, before they arrive in France, I personally will get in touch with you and organize a 20 to 30-minute consultation with you and your child, especially for the younger children. You know, you will be there as well. For some of the older teenagers, they might like to do it by themselves. But it's very important for us, or for me, to spend a little bit of time talking with you, talking with your child to really understand not only where they're at the moment with their French, so understanding what they're already capable of doing, what maybe they need a little bit more work on, understanding where they are already, but also really understanding what they wish to gain from this experience as well. Because as Natalie explained, we do have slightly different profiles, and each profile of student or each profile of child will have slightly different things that they can already do or that they want to learn while they're here. So it's really, really important for us to understand this in a lot more detail before the students arrive. Because once we've done all of these different consultations, I spend time finalizing the curriculum to make sure that each child really has the opportunity to grow as much as possible during the program, and so that each individual child has elements in the curriculum that are really going to be helpful to them and beneficial to their specific profile as well. So do note that we do finalize the curriculum and we do edit it based on the different types of students that we have. And this is something that I spend time on before they arrive at the summer camp, that I spend time working on and discussing with our team of teachers as well. So just again to say that it is really important for us to understand the different types of students that we have. And we do spend time adapting our profile, adapting our program to the different profiles as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Laura. So now just a very quick note about the Vici team. A couple of things that are very important for me to share. The first one is, by all means, all the staff that is present during those 10 days of the French summer camp are DBS checked. That goes without saying. They've also all followed first aid training. But the one information for me that is very important to share is that every single person who will be on the program with the children, teachers, coordinators, are all Vici staff, which means that we work together throughout the year. Josephine, who is our office manager, will be there. At the moment, we are yet to decide in our team, although we have a few ideas, who will be there as teachers. They are people who work at the academy throughout the year. Laura will be there. She's our director of studies, but also the manager of our French office. I want to make it clear that we do not employ students who are just looking for summer jobs and who may happen to speak French and English. This is not what it's about. This is an educational program run by language educators that are professional and for whom this is a full-time job. It was very important for me to say that all the staff present will be qualified to teach. If they are in the classroom with your children, they have experience and they are all native French. So now something that's also very important for me to talk about are our educational values. Everything that we do at the academy is focused around our educational values. What are there? What is important to us when we create educational language programs? So, of course, it is all about cultural exposure. Daily French lessons are, absolutely important, and they'll happen, every day. daily, and adventure and fun. So what do I mean by this? When we looked at creating this program, it is not just about, a summer camp in France and we take a bunch of children and we just want them to have fun and we do loads of kids and teenagers activities. It's not about that. It's a program that has been thoroughly thought of. And when we thought about it, we looked at, okay, how can we expose the children to the French culture? Something that will be useful to them just for their general knowledge, but also something that will expose them through the culture and that will help their language skills. Then we say, okay, every day they will have French lessons, whether they take place in the classroom or in the middle of the forest. Structured French lessons will be happening every day. But then, of course, it's the summer holiday. So we also want them to live an adventure that they'll remember for years and years to come. And of course, we want them to have fun and to have a great time and to come home with a big smile. So here's what we have been thinking about. For us, it's about adventure and it's about growth, okay? So every day we look at this, we say, okay, so we'll have French lessons and workshops. What we call workshops are just more kind of creative classroom setup. For example, if we have a workshop based on food, it could be that this is set up in the kitchen. So it's a lot more of a workshop than a French lesson, but the educational piece is just as important. So every day we'll have French lessons and workshops. Then we'll do nature exploration. That will have a link with the culture and the language. Then we'll do other cultural activities, which will be really based on things about the culture in France. And then we'll rest and relax. So this is very much how we've kind of worked the agenda. So you get a little bit of that every single day. And so we have a few photos of all the things that we will be doing with the children. So, let's look at nature exploration. You have there on your right a castle, a beautiful castle that we have in the area. And we will be taking the children to this castle. There'll be lots of, fun around that. There's a treasure hunt that is planned around that. And let me tell you, I've organized this before, and whether the children are 9 or 10 or 15 to 16, they all love the treasure hunt in the castle. We will be going to those beautiful waterfalls that you can see there, which are really, really close to where we are. I've spoken to you about the lakes before. So clearly your children will benefit for a lot of outdoors activities. But also, we will look at a couple of museums that are very interesting for the children. And these are, cultural activities that we can get them to work on their French language quite a lot. There's two, because one of them is much better for older children. The one with the Laughing Cow. Everyone, whether you're watching from the UK or the US, everyone knows of the Laughing Cow. Well, it is manufactured here. We are the home of the Laughing Cow, and there's a great fun museum in town. Now, I think that will be better for the older children. For the younger children, the toy museum will be way more interesting. Pictures of forest, pictures of having fun in the trees, pictures of having fun on the lakes, all of that will be included. But for us, in everything that we do and in everything that we've planned, it's all about where is the language element? Where is the culture element? Where is the nature exploration element? And when do we just rest and have a good time? Now, for those of you who will make contact with us, who are interested in finding out a little more, we can give you the full agenda so you will know exactly every day what your children will be doing, and you'll find a lot of these activities in the agenda. Okay, so now we will be looking at, well, not looking, but talking about Florence. It was very important to me to share the story of Florence and the wonderful time that she's had in France with us 2 years ago. Florence started learning French at the academy when she was very young, perhaps 4 or 5. And when we started organizing immersion programs in the summer, she kept putting her hand up, but she was a little young. And then when it was time for her to go, then unfortunately the pandemic happened. And that took away a good 2 years of residential programs at Vichy. And then in 2022, I told her that we were going to start again, but we were really busy with other development in the company. And she said, Natalie, I've been waiting for so long. I really want to go to France. So I decided, Florence was, my protege. So I decided to actually organize an individual experience for her. And so she came here to Jura, and we organized a lot of activities for her. She's here in the beautiful village of Château Chalon with Laura. She is at the lake. I got her to meet students her own age. I took her Nordic walking. She played pétanque at my parents' house with my own dog. She also, you can see on the bottom right, went to the Laughing Cow Museum. And of course, I took her to a typical French brasserie so she could have real profit rolls. Now, I have, very fond memories of Florence in Jura with me a couple of years ago. What's really interesting, and the reason why I wanted to share that with you today, is because her stay here really inspired the French summer camp next summer. It really enabled me to see what was working, what was not working so well, how children were interacting with the various activities that they were doing. So I really wanted to share this with you today because I want all of you to see that we have a vast experience in organizing those language experiences for children, but that also we have tried and tested a lot of things that we are offering your children next summer. Okay, so I think that it is all for now in terms of who this is for and where we're going, where we're staying, and what we'll be doing. Of course, please do reach out to me. Again, there will be a link to my calendar with this video. Please book a call with me so you can ask me any questions you may have, and there'll also be a link to the web page online that has an entire section of question and answer. But all now about the practical information to attend this summer camp. So we will be in France for 11 days in Jura, which needs no introduction now. It is open to children between the age of 9 and 16. We have only 24 places available. Why? We are not looking to organize a big summer camp with hundreds of children. If you look at the way we talk about the Vichy Academy, we always say that it's boutique. Whether it's language training or language experiences, we care very much about bespoke, about a boutique experience for all our participants. So for us, 24 is the right number. So the children can mix with plenty of other children who, have the same aspirations and want to have fun together in France. But it's not a big crowd that we cannot give children our personalized attention. There will be 4 members of staff on site at any given time with the children. We've just added a quick note there to say that the passport is needed. If you are watching from the US, it's clearly obvious. From the UK, it's only been a few years since we've needed this. So make sure that if your children want to take part, they have a passport. We'll be flying as a group from London. If you are in the US, then please reach out to me and I will tell you the transport arrangements that have been made for the children who are coming from the United States. And the fee, which here is in pounds, is 1,860. Again, if you're watching from the US, we have a converter on there, so you can see the price in euros, in pounds, and in US dollars. I will give you a minute to read those testimonials, one from Fran, Finn's mum, and the other from Melissa, Zach's mum, who have both taken part in the last French summer camp that we organized about 4 years ago. Okay, and now, just before we conclude with this presentation, there is a very special offer for students and their families who are watching this video and are considering joining us. There will be a £50 voucher offered for any enrollment of anyone without any time limit. But again, be careful, only 24 spaces available, no time limit. Just quote the VIP voucher in an email or a call or WhatsApp, any of your communication to us, and you will automatically have a saving of £50. Well, this is the end of this presentation for me today. Thank you very much. Again, if you have any questions at all, I'll be delighted to be chatting to you, whether you book an online call, we speak over the phone, or we even meet face to face. Please reach out, and I hope that this presentation has convinced you that this French summer camp is absolutely fantastic and a very, very unique and special experience for your children and teenagers in France next summer. Laura, thank you very much for taking part. Everyone, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you very soon. Take care.